Welcome back, everyone. I know that some of you were able to be here last month for the installment of our Survivor Speak series. And the opportunity to hear from Sam Green, I knew was going to be a pleasure. I don't think I knew last month how amazing it was going to be. And Sam has a tremendous amount of energy. So at around 9:45 or so last time, I think the rest of us needed to take a break and get a little sleep. Sam was going strong, and I asked Sam if he would consider, given that I know a slew of stories that weren't yet mentioned, and Sam said he could go on all night, we asked if he would consider speaking to us again this month. And so with a great deal of pleasure and honor to have you here, Sam, I will hand over the mic to Sam Green. And Sam said that if anyone has questions, please feel free.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
If nobody has a question, I can continue. What I started to say is about I fall down.
Please, why don't you start there, and then we'll get to questions afterwards.
The name was Blachhammer. It was a big working place, the biggest one in Germany, and many nationalities worked there. And in our concentration camp in Blachhammer, it was maybe in Jewish people maybe 2,500. It was the biggest one. It was a big working place.
What did you do there?
I did everything. They had factories, and they had in one place I worked, and many times where they had 9 water turbines. Each turbine was big like a big truck, and some women. Most women worked on those turbines. They measured the pressure of the. They have lots of meters. They have to keep watching that everything is working normally. And one day, the English started to come in. English bombers started to come in and try to bomb that particular one with the turbines was very important. So I think it was E.J. Farben. It was the biggest one probably in Europe, and they produced all kinds of chemicals there. And I don't know what else they produce. And you have workers, even English flyers were shut down. I met some too, and I met some flyers. They went to their washrooms with them.
Wait, these were British pilots that got shot down, and they were in there.
Yeah.
They were in there too.
Yeah. There were another one also later. I met some. I met American flyers. In American, so I didn't ask him if we were a flyer or not. And there were small groups, maybe 25 or 20, sometimes just maybe 12 workers. And the best treated prisoner or who was shut down or any nationality, because they captured French in Polish flyers too. Some escaped, some officers, Polish officers, they escaped last minute to England. England let them in. Even the Prime Minister whoever it was in charge, they took the last plane they could. Or maybe some English picked them up or something. They knew before they knew they had lots of, the English people had lots of spies. And so
They're working on the turbines?
Yeah, now I'm going to talk about the turbines. Okay. In the same place where the turbines are, it was 9 turbines, it was 9 girls from Poland, teenagers. They looked like 17, 18 years old. And when the planes came in, the Germans had warnings. They had spies. The Germans had spies in England. They knew exactly when the planes are leaving England. It didn't take long there in Germany. And and then when the alarm came, they had an alarm, so everybody can go in a bunker. It was only bunkers for Germans. Maybe they let in English flyers, I don't know somewhere, but no other worker got in a bunker. I saw Belgian workers, civilian, Polish, all kinds, all nationalities. And so all of our people, they went down in that huge, very, very, very large building where the turbines were, and underneath the whole factory was cement, like cellars, well built. So we went down there. It was our hiding, and the Germans assessed. Whoever was, maybe German foremen, because they call it Meister, the one who was in charge. The most important people went to bunkers. So one day I came up a little bit earlier from the basement. It quieted down, I didn't hear any bombs, because everything was shaking. They could never hit that building because the Germans had so much time they made artificial fog. And when they looked down from the plane, they only saw fog, maybe a kilometer square. They could never hit that building. They hit nearby, but it never was hit that building. But everything was shaking. The glass came out and everything. And so I came out a little bit earlier from the bunker. I could go in and out any time. They didn't care about us because they didn't know if I hit the building, we get killed. They cared less. And so I met one woman, one teenager came over to me and asked me where I am from. I said, I'm from Poland. And then she asked me what city, from a big town, small town. So I told her we're in Lubliniec. Lublinca, it was called in Polish. And Lublinca was very well known by everybody because it was a training place for the Polish army. It was the first graduation in the army, the training, everything was done there. And it was near the German border also. And she said, I asked, when she told me, she asked her, first she asked me where, I told them Krabotsk. And she knew it, because all those towns are not far away. It's a radius of 20 miles. And so I said, I'm from Klabusa. He said, in Lublin, I had, she asked me what is the name of, I told her I have a cousin, my mother's cousin. I knew they had children, I didn't know how old they are or whatever. So she said to me, so I asked me the name. I said, Feige, it's a German last name. So she said, right away she got excited. It was two girls in her class. They were the daughters of my mother's cousin. I was a third cousin, or a second cousin. So she talked to me. I don't remember everything what she talked to me. And when we separated, she said she's going to put down on the number 9 turbine. Each turbine, it was 9 turbines. Each one has started 1 till 9. And she worked on the 9 turbine, so she's going to put in some bread. She has extra bread. So the next morning, before I try to get in as early as possible, because it takes time to get in every place. I walked to the turbine. There was nobody around. I looked around because somebody might see, and then they get in trouble. So I picked up that bread that there was bread. I put it in underneath my shirt, and I had this bread. And this was going on for quite a few days. She kept she only told me to be careful. Nobody to see. And in the same building, maybe, because maybe a month apart only, and there was, anytime they need professional work, I said I am. I could do, and then I always found out I know more than they do. Even here I looked in for a job when I came over. Right away I looked for a job, and I didn't know much about television. It was the beginning. I never saw a television. Only went to night school. And so I asked one Jewish man, I don't know, he was alive, or he's alive or not. He was not from our shul. I told him the only thing I'm scared, I look for a job. They asked me what I know. And so he said, you say you know everything. And when I got the first job on electronic, it was Saturday night. I was single. I didn't know what to do. I looked at windows, went, and right across the street where I was living, I had one room. So when I came, they picked me up one person from the Jewish Center, and they gave me one room there was, his name was Arnheim. He was a Jewish person, I think he was Czech or German, and he was in Shanghai. This way he survived. When I came over, there was quite a few Jewish people who survived in Shanghai, elderly people. So I looked in that one window, there was a television shop. It was across the street from that shop on East 14th Street in Auckland. They called it East 14, now they call it International Boulevard. And so there was one man sitting inside by himself. He was the owner. And he said, come, open the door for me. He said, come in. So I told him, I didn't even walk in. I told him, I cannot buy anything. I don't have money. I'm not interested, but I'm interested in a job. I told him I repaired television. I was in Germany. And he kind of got interested in me because he was a Second World War veteran. He was in the army in Germany. And I told him my story, what I did during the war. So he gave me the job. And then
You told him that you knew how to fix televisions?
He worked also.
Right.
He was...
You told him that you know how to fix televisions?
No.
Oh.
I told him I can repair radios in phonographs. And I thought he has people working, other people working. So he said, you come over Monday. It was Saturday night. He said, you come over Monday to my shop. So when I came over to his shop, there were 3 people. He was working a little bit, and they had one black man who picked up stereos in radios and put up antennas, and he made a home call, but he wasn't too good in television. But so I got my experience there, and I found out I knew more about electronics than he or the other guy. He knew electronics from the Navy. He was in the Navy during Second World War, and he studied a little bit, didn't know much. And the other man was a black man. He only knew how to adjust the television and pick it up. That's all. And he brought in the television, and I started to work. Sometimes it took me longer. I got lots of experience by myself. I stayed overtime. I didn't charge him. I just was interested to get acquainted, to know. And I was reading books, how to repair. When you buy a television, you got with the television a brochure. And sometimes the brochure was written how to adjust, what can be wrong. And I went to school in the evening, 3 times a week. It was an extension of Berkeley University. It was on Broadway.
Where did you learn to read English, to read the brochure?
Brochure, well, it's English. I learned English in Germany before I came over here. I didn't speak well, but I spoke already. And I was really, you see, I learned English in Germany, but I never spoke. Nobody else spoke English. I only heard German. I never studied German, I never knew German, but Yiddish is like German. It's almost the same language. Yiddish comes from German. It's a German language, actually. And the only time I have trouble reading, if it is written Gothic, the alphabet looks different. They call it Gothic. I don't know. Anyway, I was reading books, and I was laid off in his place because he liked to drink a lot. He was married. His wife did the bookkeeping, and he sold televisions also. And I got experience with the television, sold to adjust and all kinds of things. And so one day a big truck came he bought televisions from an Admiral company. It was a big company, and they came with a big truck. They picked up the televisions. He didn't have money to pay for it. They waited probably 2 or 3 months. He didn't pay. They repossessed all this television. Then I was, he didn't have money and he closed the shop. So, and I had a friend somebody told me, I think from the Jewish Center, they know somebody who is in this television repair, a single man, his name was Rothschild, Gunther Rothschild. He's Jewish. And he lived in Berkeley. I went one day, and through him I got another job, not repairing television, but repairing phonographs and radios. But in the meantime, I learned the televisions. And then I was laid off there too. It wasn't enough work in the radios and televisions. I wasn't perfect. So I got a job. I went to the Union. In Union was in San Francisco, and they gave me a job at a big department store. It was called Hale's department store. It was 12 on Broadway, or between Broadway and Franklin, I think, on 12th Street, downtown Oakland. I got a job and worked. Hale sold televisions, and they need 2 people to deliver a big television. Television were very large. So we delivered and we adjusted the television, and I learned a lot from him. Sometimes we brought over the television. Whatever I did is new for me. I learned a lot. And I was reading many books in English I could understand. Then I got another, Hales, they didn't sell enough televisions. And for some reason, the Department of Sale televisions got smaller and smaller all the time because they had to pay for everything. Probably they didn't make enough money. And they sold televisions. It wasn't easy because they have to go back. They always broke down. It wasn't like now, it holds up. And it wasn't easy. They didn't make too much money on televisions. And I was laid off. I got another job through the union in Albany. Albany and Solano, on Solano Avenue in Albany was a television shop. 2 people, it wasn't a shop. And it was 2 or 3 partners. One put up antennas, one was working, one was a good technician, 2 were working on TVs. And they were all Navy young people. They learned whatever they learned in the Navy, but one was good. And they taught me to read books. They gave me head books. I was reading, and I got a little bit experience, quite a bit.
And Sam,
yeah, and I was,
I wish I remembered every job I ever had like you do, because you have all the details down.
Yeah.
I'm curious. It sounds like you ended up in radio and television because that's what was there. When you were growing up in Poland, what did you think you were going to do when you grew up?
I never saw a television in Poland. I never saw a radio. The only thing what I saw is a little crystal. My teacher had a little crystal.
Did you have an idea of what job you wanted when you grew up?
No, I didn't have any idea. I left, I was at the war broke out, I was maybe 15.
Mm-hmm. What did your father do?
My father, we had a store. We sold everything. It was the only thing. We sold even parts for bicycles. And we sold parts for bicycles, metals, to plug in the field. We sold medications even. We had all kinds of sort of things, powders and all kinds. We sold all kinds of paints. The paints, we never sold paints before the war. Maybe it was here the same. You never had a paint in a jar or anything. You bought like powder. You want to paint red, you buy a red powder. And there was instructions how to mix it. They mix it with oil. Oil, I think it was, they mix it to a special oil for paint. Most oils were made, paints indoor for paint, with oil mixed. I don't remember what kind of an oil was. I think it was that oil, it's kind of what we eat. Sometimes we eat it's something, it's pressed. It's very expensive. Anyway, and we had in our town even people who made oil, Jewish people.
And were the Jews in the town Hasidic? This is Poland. Were they Hasidim?
Hasidim, yeah, a mixture in a bigger town like Częstochowa, maybe 15,000 people, Jewish people. The town maybe had maybe 150,000 people. And last time I was in Częstochowa with David, and they already had 250,000 people. And one Jew.
One Jew?
One Jew, and he happened to be my third cousin. And he's from Lublin, from the town where I met the girls. They gave me the bread.
Got it. And were your family Hasidic? Were your family, was it a Hasidic family?
My father was a Gerach Husid. My side, I don't know what kind of a Husid he was. They also in Klobutz, Triskelasis, smaller places, mixed Hasidim from different backgrounds, davened in one shul. And it wasn't a big shul, like it was half the size of the shul.
Got it.
And the shul was only for people, it was women, even all the women, they came to shul. In the shul up there, and they had lots of children. The shul was full always. So everybody went to shul. They didn't have to pay anything for the shul. The rabbi made a living from shechita.
From shechting, or from saying that the chickens were kosher? Was the rabbi shechting the chickens, or the rabbi was the hashkacha on the chickens?
The rabbi, it wasn't called a rabbi, it was called a roof. The roof was only Paskin Charles. They brought in the whole, in a big dish, they brought, every time they slaughtered the cow, they brought in the lungs.
And he would paskin.
And they blow out around, the butcher blow out in the Rav, and the Rav looked at the lung. Sometimes he pronounced, when he went with the butcher, he had two different kinds of meat, glatt kosher and kosher. Glatt kosher means 100%. Kosher is, it's like you have an egg. If you open up an egg and you take off the little red spot, in the egg doesn't get...
you get all the red spot out.
Yeah, if it comes off easy, then it's kosher. If you damage the yellow ones, then it's not kosher anymore. But he didn't do it. It's cheap. In Poland, everything was expensive. Never throw away an egg. If they can make the same thing that for it was here, if it's not that kosher, So he said it was a butcher who sells tray for meat. Went over there, they would lose money. So, but sometimes they had to. Yes, had no choice. But anyway, I like to continue.
Oh, please. Whatever.
Continue with the other thing. After that woman put the bread a few days, quite a few, she was still there, and then they needed glasses, so they announced. But we came in groups to work. We didn't come 200 people together or 500. We came in sometimes a group of 20, a group of 50 Häftlingers. They call it Häftlingers. They call it in German we are Häftlingers.
What does Häftlingers mean?
Häftlinger means a KZman from concentration camp. In German, they call it the Lager concentration camp, but the individual people they called it Häftlinge. I don't know. I have to look up the dictionary. Can find out what the Häftlinge and they need glasses. So a group came in asking, is anybody a glaser here? So in my group was maybe 50 people. I said, yes, I'm a glaser. Put up my hand. And so when I came to it was that big building where the turbines were. And I was waiting till the foreman would come. I thought maybe many people worked there, but it was only one person. He was a soldier. He was dressed in uniform. A good-looking guy. He was maybe 20, 23 years old. I never asked him where he's from. And he told me that the buckets have to come up 30 feet high or 40 feet high. And there was a platform like in a barber sheet, and the glass was on the side. And when the English planes bombed, they couldn't hit, but sometimes it was pretty close, and the glass came out. You see, the frame of the glass was made of metal, and sometimes it got out from just shake a little bit. It might be worn out, dried out. The putty gets dried out. After a while, the putty doesn't hold the glass anymore. And so the first few days, I carried up the buckets of putty because to put in the glass and a metal frame. It wasn't even made of aluminium. Aluminium was expensive. They made those frames. To put in the glass was made of metal, just plain metal. And I have to carry up the buckets of tofu, what they used for the glass, to put on the glass, to stick the glass to the metal. And after working for 4 or 5 days, he came over to me and said, "You don't carry the glass, I carry the tofu. You don't carry the tofu, so I carry up the tofu. You just make sure the ladder is stable." I was holding the ladder for him, and because when I carry the tofu, I could only use one hand to go close to the ladder and go up another step. So he told me he's going to carry it. And that's all what I did, is holding the ladder. When all the tofu was up and all the tofu was up, we put in the glass. The glass he didn't have to cut. It was pre-cut glass. They all have one size, and we put in the glass. This way, but after a week or so, the English planes didn't come so much, and they never hit the building. I don't know why they didn't. I wish they would have. They could have hit it. Camp was not too far away, maybe half a mile away.
Did you want them to hit where you were, or were you scared of them? I mean, it's the English planes, but you're in danger. So did you want them to hit the factory?
I was kind of surprised. I didn't know what to think of. How come a German? He is a German's. I had guards, and they were terrible. A guard wouldn't talk to me. Like he was talking politely. You see, I don't know, maybe he was Jewish and became you see, in Germany, some Jews, they don't say to each other they're Jews. We are German, we're all German. They believed so much in Germany. It was the only country where Jewish people had a good life.
Mm-hmm.
Then Hitler came to power, but I never could believe an old lady, 75 years old. I knocked at her door, and I saw that big Hitler picture. It was a picture hanging right across the door on her wall. The picture was maybe 4 by 6. I never saw such a big picture of Hitler. And I was stunned. Anyway, I talked to the soldier, brought me bread. He said he's going to bring me bread, put on he will give it to me up when I'm up.
Wait, this is the person you worked with on the glass?
While I worked in the glass, because on the main floor, where the turbines were, there were once in a while an assessment walked through, or some other, even regular soldiers. Some were on the sympathetic board. Some looked for something they can do something better. Somebody. Some were very real patriots, and they wanted Hitler is their God. They want to win the war. They want to make sure everything. And they were very smart, those Germans. It was the only country in Europe. They were better organized in all fields than any country in the world. Mm. They were so pinkly for everything. Everything was said to be so accurate. They were very educated. It's only after the war I was working for art school. I studied electronics in Germany. It was a Jewish organization. It is ORT, Organization Rehabilitation Training. And this was in every DP, displaced person camp in Germany. They had those art school educate, because young people didn't have a job. I could not leave here. Germany, the United States, I couldn't get a passport if I don't have a certificate that I'm a television man. Mm-hmm. Or I'm a tailor, so that I can support myself. They would let you in. Not only that, you have to be healthy to get into this country. If you had TB, I would have come a year before, maybe, to the United States. But I happened to have TB, and till the doctors had a certificate from the doctor that I'm 100% cured. Right. Then then it took me a long time to get a passport to let me in. And then I got the passport. That's why I came in 51. Yeah, I was liberated. I was the last person liberated in all of Europe. I didn't know why. The Russians came in, the Germans came in, not far from Czechoslovakia. And for some reason, the Russians stopped. They stopped moving. Then the Americans came in. The Russians, they want the reason they stopped in Russia was anti-Semitic, the communists, Stalin, and the Germans want to kill as more Jewish people as they can before the end of the war. So they just stopped. If the war would end a half a year before, another million people, Jewish people, would have been alive. The last half year, more Jewish people died in concentration camps and at home. The last year was the worst year of celebration. More people got killed in Auschwitz. The last few months from than all the time before they killed. And also not only that, but the people who were in concentration camp, some are desperate to get liberated. They couldn't take it anymore. As long as the war was going, then less food was. And so they just couldn't survive. Some died maybe 5,000 people died the last 5 days in Theresienstadt alone. He said they took us to the last place where the Germans, where the Russians and the Americans meet. So then the Russians wanted to get into Czechoslovakia because they want to have a communist Czechoslovakia. The Russians took Ukraine. They divided Poland, but then Poland took some of Germans. It belonged to Poland before. They got the old border what it was in the First World War. So I don't know, it was the whole world that cares. English people, they didn't care. You know, when we ate lunch, when I fall down, I tell you later about the fall down, but there was a barrack for people. One group ate lunch at 1 o'clock. The other group of the Häftlinge, ate lunch an hour, half an hour was only the lunch. So they went, sometimes it was raining, and sometimes it was winter, it was cold. And they went in, they got a little coffee. I think that we have to bring our own coffee to work. Every person from in the concentration camp got a big dish and a spoon and a fork and a little container for coffee or water. Now, most people ate at home the meal in one time. They came home from work and they were so hungry. They ate the soup first, and it wasn't enough. They ate the bread, they ate everything. And I found out I was a smaller person, I wasn't that tall. When I was 14, I was the same height what I am now. I just stopped growing because even a year before the war, food got scarce already. We knew the Germans were coming, and during the war I had luck that I survived. You didn't see any fat Jew walking around. Everybody was, especially people with children. It was terrible. A year before the war, we knew it was coming. But my grandfather had another opinion. He thought the Germans, it's going to be better than to be occupied by the Germans than to live in Poland by the Poles, because he thought the Germans are very polite, they have more culture, they're different people, they're better. He thought, because the way they talk, the Germans, bitte schön, danke schön, so polite, so polite, but not to the Jews.
Right.
Say not even to their own people. When I was in Buchenwald, I ran in right near my barrack was another big barrack, bigger than the barrack where I was. German soldiers chipped off their ranks, officers and soldiers exercising. They were prisoners from the Germans. They were Germans. Some probably said something.
Mm-hmm.
You see, they kept control of all the things. You see, the father was afraid for them. They didn't tell everything the mother was happening. And the mother didn't tell the father what's happened. The son didn't, what he knew, he didn't tell his father. It was, nobody could trust anybody.
Can I ask you, I remember some stories that you've mentioned to me. Can I ask you to share a couple of them?
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about davening in the labor camps with your talis.
Yeah, this was from the beginning.
Yeah.
From the beginning, when we arrived, everybody after 14, or after Bar Mitzvah, who had the Bar Mitzvah. We didn't have Bar Mitzvahs, any celebrations, but after this, the Bar Mitzvah was just having an aliyah, not mafti. You see, other aliyahs were more important than the mafti. Some people at Yutzat was more important than the Bar Mitzvah. And Bat Mitzvah didn't exist. No woman, no girl had a Bat Mitzvah, even if she was the Rav's daughter, would never have a Bat Mitzvah. Women didn't need a Bat Mitzvah. And they didn't daven in the free like a man put film on or something like this here. Here now some women, they think they're not equal, they put on but it's film, it's okay. It's not an environment. Anyway, about the soldier, and I could never figure out, I was kind of scared first day. I didn't know what's going on, or he's a spy, one to. I thought maybe what it was, I can't tell. And he was very polite and nice. He brought me that bread. And then he didn't come, they didn't eat anymore a glass. They call it glacier in German. And so I got another job. I was carrying bricks from one place to another. I took 3 or 4, whatever I could carrying. They had labor, had lots of people in that big working place, and they didn't have to pay money for work, and they got labor for free. Even the Polish people, if they paid somebody something, maybe pfennigs, maybe some groschens, saying Yiddish, you see. And so they used everybody in that place. They didn't ask you. I think they didn't even give you enough food to survive. You see, it was, and I lost that soldier. He didn't come more to work, and they assigned me to a different group. I did something else. Carrying the bricks, I just said. And sometimes we carried board, big pieces of wood from one place to another place. All kinds of things. We carried bags on my back, sacks of cement, all kinds of whatever I needed. And sometimes I ran out of work in some places, so that they took it from one just to keep you busy. They couldn't see you empty, not to do anything. And they took the bricks, what I carried here. The next 3 weeks, I have to carry back to the place where they were. See, just to keep you busy. And sometimes I saw the American soldiers. I was the last year of the war. This was in Thüringen, in Germany. It's called like here they say California, I don't know. It was called Thüringen. And in the name of the town was Gera, 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 and it was Thüringen, and I saw maybe 15 American soldiers, a group. So any time I met those soldiers was I met when I wasn't in they went to the same toilet, and I met them there. I think I did some exchange, something. I gave him something, what they need, and they gave me something. I did something, and I couldn't speak English. I spoke German, but some could talk German. So I got in contact. And one day I saw him working. It looks like the foreman got angry or something, and they had to run in gallop, carrying big heavy boards, one on this side, and the other one they were about 15 feet long or longer. And it was heavy, and they made him run. He said, sometimes we walk out from our camp in the morning, and looks like the assessment got a bad dream or something, or he didn't feel well. He made us run to work, not just to walk. We never walked slowly, but sometimes if somebody couldn't run, they beat him up in the rear. I tried to run us to be from the front, so they can beat me. You see, I was young, I could, but some were older, I couldn't run. It was, if they didn't have work at all, they created something, they make you do something always.
Were you able to do any while you were in the camps, anything Jewish? Were you able to ever to daven or to know that there was a Yantif or a Shabbos or anything? Did you have any Jewish life in the camps?
Any Jewish
life, davening, Yantif, Shabbos, anything?
No, you didn't.
Zero.
The working place, and there was a big working place. You couldn't buy anything. Anything. I think I didn't get acquainted with the whole working place. The working place was maybe the size of bigger than Union Square. Big place. I couldn't see, or maybe 3 times as big. You couldn't see what's going on in one and the other end. Most of the time I was in an environment where I worked was about maybe 300 feet by 400 feet or something like this, or maybe a little bit more where I worked. But this was going on I didn't see the hands.
Can you tell everyone the story about when you smuggled an egg into the camp? You told me about smuggling an egg.
Yeah, okay. Let me. Yeah, I talk about the egg now. I was in one lager. Was it? Maybe it was when I was in Buchenwald. We didn't work in Buchenwald. I did not work in Buchenwald because they just kept you. It wasn't too long, thanks God, Hashem, that I didn't work too long. It was like a big Gehenna, you know. Every time I walked out in the morning, I had to walk down stairs like here, about maybe 7 or 8 stairs. And there was, on the left side always, I saw a big, how do you call it, something, a big pile. A pile, yeah, a big pile of dead people who died overnight. Maybe 15 people died one night. In the barrack, there was a barrack maybe for maybe 30 people regularly. They put in it was maybe 200 or more. They had shelves. You know, if you know a Navy transport ship, how then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 3. They had shelves, 1, 2, 3, 4 without anything, and we went in. It was shelves only here this way, but it was not divided here. It was only divided laterally, but not vertically. You see, so if I would, we just went in. It was an advantage in winter. It was warm and we slept close, but we wanted to turn around. You couldn't. The whole row has to turn to be able to turn. Buchenwald was the worst thing I ever seen. And every day, I wasn't too long in Buchenwald. If I would have been there maybe 2 weeks longer, who knows, I would be alive. So I talk to you about the egg. Okay. Yeah, so Sunday, it was on a Sunday, and they need people. So they took people to Weimar. Weimar was not far from Buchenwald. And it was in the suburb of Weimar. And some farmers were living in some private, they all were private people. Elderly people mostly, probably. The young people were on the front. They put every young person. They didn't have young people left. And even their own people, if they couldn't work, they couldn't go to the army, they got rid of them. If you were in a hospital, they even went into hospitals and they looked at the doctors, wanted to check what kind of sickness they have. If they have an uncurable sickness, they took them to Auschwitz, or they took some people to Auschwitz too. They get rid, they won't have a pure race, won't have sick, healthy people. If somebody was crippled, first they killed him before I even went to Germany already was going on. And the egg here, I was shoveling snow, it was in the winter time. And many families couldn't get out from the house if it's 4 or 5 feet of snow. So I was shoveling the snow, And then all of a sudden I see a chicken come out from nowhere, from the snow. So I see nobody's around. So I was thinking maybe there is an egg. And I walked there. It was only 15 feet away where I was shuffling. So I looked around, nobody was there. I go close, I see there's an egg was still warm. If the egg would be another hour, probably would be frozen. It was winter time. It was in 44, the end of 44. And so nobody was around. I took the egg in my pocket, in the regular pocket, not here, but here, in my pants pocket. And I think I changed, I put it in here, but mostly when I shuffle, I use more the right hand, so I put it in the left side. And I was praying, but I didn't know what to do with the egg. If I couldn't eat a raw egg for some reason. I never ate before. But I saw other people eating, say, bake a hole on the bottom, hole on the top, and they just sip it down, go stop. But I couldn't do it. So I was thinking, when I come back to the camp in the evening, there were a few girls. They worked in the kitchen. And one woman, she helped the Judenel sister at a privilege, special privilege in the camp. He was in charge of the camp. And so when I came back, the egg didn't break. It was a miracle. Working all day long with an egg in shuffling. So I went into I knocked at the door for Judenel sister. He wasn't there. The woman was there alone. Was a young woman, I don't know but how old she was. It was 30, maybe 25. And I told her what happened. I had the egg, and I told her it's a fresh egg. When I got it, it was very fresh. So and she was so happy. She was surprised that she never ate an egg in years. Probably nobody, even the assessment never ate an egg. They didn't have eggs for soldiers, especially in 1944. And I gave her the egg, and she gave me 3 soups. 3 days in a row I ate double portions, not bread, because she needs the bread. Everybody only had 1 portion of bread. So I had 3 days of soup. She did not bring the soup to me. I went in with my container. Nobody else knew. Not even I was afraid to tell even somebody mightn't grab my, it was terrible. I used to hide my bread. And at first I was hiding in my shirt. And then I thought it wasn't right, and I had lice. Everybody had lice in the camp. And I put it on the newspaper. I think we had old newspapers. Something, I don't know how old those papers, you couldn't read anything. Something you couldn't read, because when you want to hear something, some paper we had, when you go to the toilet, have to have something. And I packed it, the bread and that piece of paper. You talk about hygiene, there was no hygiene. I didn't know anything about, I knew about hygiene, about cleanliness, but I didn't know about the diseases, stuff I never knew about. I was never sick when I was small. So the bread.
You'd wrap up the bread in the paper?
Yeah, the bread. Yeah, from that girl, I gave the egg. Yeah, wrap the paper, and I put it underneath my head. Only one time, and somebody found out this, that I have bread. They didn't have to find it because I never ate everything in one day when I got it, because I wanted to have something for the next day left. But some people couldn't control themselves. I was used to. Even when I was home, I already fasted. And some people were big people, they need more food than I. So I got 3 days in a row full dinner twice. I mean, I ate 2 portions.
Right.
And first I ate my dinner. And then I went and I said to one other, who knew me, I told him I bought another dinner for, sometimes I exchanged. Everybody's I'm exchanging. I gave one time a friend, whoever it was, some people want to have eat 2 dinners. I got a portion of butter or margarine. He wants the butter, so I gave him a half of my butter, and he gave me half of his another dinner. Yes. We exchanged, we did something. And one man, some were they were chain smokers, and a cigarette was very important for them. So they came to me, you don't smoke. When you see on the fountain, and when you work on the Baustelle, when you work at work, where you work, you collect cigarettes what people throw away. And I put it in my pocket. The pocket was always dirty. I put it in, and they didn't have paper to make. They used something like a newspaper and made a cigarette, and they smoked cigarettes because some people were so addicted. Smoking was more important than bread.
Wow.
And yeah. I remember my grandfather. If he hadn't have a cigarette, he got irritated.
Did you live with your grandfather for a while?
We right after 3 days after the war, we lived out. We never went back to our town because our house was bombed. Was bombed 5 minutes after we left. We were woken up by neighbors to get out.
And did you go to live with your grandfather?
Yeah, we lived, my father and my sister lived at my mother. My mother died 2 years after I went to the camp.
Do you know how she died?
She died of pneumonia. And my father and my sister my sister, they lived in my grandfather's house because I took away my grandmother, my grandfather. They shot them. I don't know what happened to them. I know my grandmother, they took her probably to Auschwitz, and my grandfather probably ran away to Częstochowa. He was 73. He walked maybe 17 kilometers. Was from Kropotsk to Częstochowa. Yeah, except I remember the signs was 70 kilometers. He was in the ghetto there. He probably died in the ghetto in Częstochowa. I had other relatives in Częstochowa. One was, she was my mother's sister, youngest sister, and her husband had a factory. He manufactured parts for bicycles.
Okay. And
He manufactured a frame, specializing. I remember he had an oven, had people working, and they painted. They were all bicycles they made painted. They were all painted. He needed extra people doing the painting, and he was working too. Maybe 10 people worked there. And they sold the bicycles all over Poland. They shipped the bicycles.
can you tell us?
My mother comes from a family, nine children. And let me finish what I started with the egg. This was the end with the egg. I don't want egg. I talked about I fall down. I was working for the biggest Gerichtsbau in Germany. It was Max Rudolf Engel and Max Siplitz, and I fall down. I came down on my feet. I was from Nashmaim. I don't know how I could have held down on my feet because I could stand up right away. And there was lots of glass and metal and all kinds of junk. But on the way coming down, I hit some other object. It was bleeding from my nose. And after I fall down, the foreman, I was only a person who worked I in a Belgian was working, and the foreman was a German. He probably saw me coming down. He came over to me. Hast du Schwein gehabt? Means I have a headlock. It's a slang in English. In German, if you have luck, you say, ja, du hast Schwein gehabt. Schwein means something to do with luck, I don't know. Maybe it was talked in different parts of Germany. You see, foremen in all kinds of people from all parts of Germany who couldn't go to the army, they sent them to work. They needed professional people. He was a professional making, like they paint a house, you have to stand on something, and it's very high up.
Scaffolding? Like scaffolding? Or
They had, you have ladders, and a long board. One is on the one ladder, and one was the other part. And it was the last one, they stopped making higher. And I worked in one end in a Belgian man. He was about my age. He wasn't Jewish. He was forced labor. Forced labor was from all over Europe, from France and everywhere. And I was working. We were insulating pipes, and I was stamping, working on this end, and all of a sudden, the board goes down. You see, it was. This is a board. Till here, the board, and he was standing here. I was standing here, and this end, and when he stepped down, my weight
pushed it.
That's why maybe I fall on my feet. But it's still a miracle because it's so high up. I could fall on my head. Anything could have happened. So the German foreman came over. He said, "Hast du Schwein gehabt?" And I didn't know. I didn't know what Schwein is. I thought he calls me a Schwein. This is what they said. Du bist ein Schwein, bist ein Jude. You see. But this was a different Schwein. This was, he seemed to me very nice. He was not a little bit an older person. And maybe he wasn't a Nazi. And he brought a stretcher. He called 2 other people to carry me in the barrack, a lunch barrack. Yeah. And I was on the stretcher all day long, without anything. I don't remember if I had any bit of water or wiped myself. I was bleeding. Maybe I had something to wipe myself. Maybe he brought me over, I think, that man. He didn't work, he only observed how we do it right. It was along, the pipe goes maybe goes 200 feet away to another building. No, it was steam pipe. They used turbines, and they had the steam pipe, steam. We went all over the big working place. They produced also electricity and everything. It was a very important place. That's why the English planes came in.
To try and bomb it.
Yeah, to bomb it. But they could never hit anything because they didn't have old-fashioned exact time. This is a long time ago, since 1940, 42 or 43, 44. There was no radar like now. Now they have different things. They can hit even if you hide something. And they were very smart, but this was something the English couldn't do, even if they had good bombers, but they didn't know accurately where it is. It's like sitting in a steam bath. You don't see anything. From April, steam.
Like a sauna, a steam room.
Yeah. It's what they did always. And they had warnings for the SS and all the Germans, what they need to go to their bunkers. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, the bunkers were not all on one place. They're scattered all over. Yeah. Those bunkers were bomb-proof. And the bombs were not that strong like nowadays. Everything was different.
Right.
That's what happened with India. I'm not through with that story. It's very interesting. In the evening, it's 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, we have to go home. We go home, I cannot walk. So they kept me on the stretcher, on the same stretcher. Two of our people carried me on the stretcher to the camp. When I came into the camp, they didn't carried me to the camp, to the tent where I was living. I call it tent, a barrack, whatever you call it. It's the same thing. And they carried me into a hospital, they said. And it was very orderly. It was also made like a barrack, but it was very clean, spick and span. And they gave me a bed. They took me out from the stretchers. They put me on the bed. They put on cold water where I needed. It was swollen. I broke that finger. See, this is straight. Mm-hmm. This one has a bump here.
From the break.
It was even the doctor was just a general doctor. He didn't know anything about. He wasn't a surgeon or something. He didn't know how to put in any. Right. It grow together right in the next. And I was there one night. I was there one night, and they woke me up early in the morning. They said to me, "You have to leave. You have to leave. We can only kept you one night there. Are more sick people there." And I begged him, "Leave me just one more day. Today, leave me go out tomorrow from here, because the reason I was in pain, and secondly, the food was so good. They didn't give me the general food. They gave me was like more like grits or something. Mm-hmm. It was a better meal, and they called it a hospital, but they didn't have much medications. So I have no choice. I was crying. I think I told them to leave me one night more. And I figured I go to work and I'm lame. They might shoot me. You see, they can't work. And he said, "You have to leave." So I left. I could walk, but I was lame. And I went on the bed, and somebody brought me another pyjama. Was bloody, everything. I don't know where I got it from. A pyjama. Everything was a pyjama. Was what I was wearing, with stripes, like a prisoner. Even the coat. I had a coat was also same way made. And I worked all day. I don't remember if I could work, whatever it was. And maybe I did work a little bit. They assigned me to a place where less work to do, not to carry everything or something. And in the evening, I walked home already. I always healed fast, bones and everything. I grew up near Częstochowa. The whole environment had the best water in the world. We had, if you bought a new chainik, a new pot to boil water for tea, in 3 or 4 days, the bottom got white. Was so much calf. Yeah. So all the people came from my environment, for my territory, are healthy people, even the old one. That's why my grandfather could walk 17 miles. And When I came back to the lager next day, I walked. I was lame, but I managed to go in to the lager, and I managed to stand in the line and pick up my soup for my portion bread. And here behind me, two of our people. They spoke in Yiddish. They sent a big truck from Auschwitz here to this camp. Not only to this camp, but if they couldn't fill it up, the camps were close to each other. They picked up as many as they could and took them to Auschwitz. Even if there is no room, they have no use. And to Auschwitz, they just throw you on the wagon. So I went into now later I could understand. I could understand why the doctor knew about. It was a Jewish doctor.
So he was saving your life.
So he saved my life. He figured most people were older, or somebody couldn't serve everybody's life. I was young. He got mercy, the doctor. Wow. As much as he could save people, But it was a miracle that it happened, the timing, that they told me to leave in the timing when I got hurt. Because it would happen a day later or a day before.
You'd be there.
I would have been here.
Wow.
So this was a miracle. What I was well, I ended the story with what I was talking about falling down.
Right. Maybe, if people have a question, can they ask you?
Yeah, ask me any question.
Joe? Oh, can you tell us how you met Shlomit? How did you meet Shlomit, your wife?
Shlomit. When I came over here, there was a big Auckland High School in Auckland, MacArthur Boulevard and Park Boulevard. I went to night school. I took Spanish. One day I took Spanish. One day I took dancing. What else? One night I took English. I went 3 nights to school, and I do how to dance. I never danced before. Saturday night, you remember Menashe Taub? I don't know you. You remember Mr. Helen's?
I remember Helen. I talked to her about Menashe.
Helen's husband.
Yeah.
And he was my friend, and he didn't have a car. And I was single. I had a car because I bought my first car for $250. In 1941, we sort of. It was a business coupe. The telephone company in Auckland used business coupes because they sent people into houses to repair the telephone, and they needed room. And the reason I got the business coupe because I needed something I could put in the television. There was lots empty room. And Saturday night I used to go to San Francisco Youth Center. Every Saturday night we had a dance and meet people. Most people, there was people from all ages, women, men and women. And sometimes Thanksgivings, there was a special night. They used 2 rooms and two orchestras. 2 rooms and 2 orchestras. And sometimes, one time, if they didn't have an orchestra, they showed films. And so one time I saw a film from Ben Gurion, all kinds of things. So I went to the dances, and I met all kinds of dance, So Shlomit was sitting, I didn't know her name or anything. I introduced myself. Would you like to dance? I knew already how to dance. I took the classes. So, she was happy to dance with me. And we danced. Then I got to know her more. She invited me to her home. She even cooked a one-time dinner for me. And I knew her maybe for 3 years. And she went back to Sweden one day. She went back to Sweden. She came from Sweden to New York because she had a brother, Menachem. He was studying in New York. He was in a kibbutz, and he was studying mathematics. He was a good mathematician. And he became a scientist, mathematician scientist. Then he went back to Israel. He only came once a year. So she never went to New York. She had another brother who was in kibbutz. When he was 5 years old, the parents in Budapest, she was born in Heidelberg. And he was born, There were 2 brothers and 2 sisters. The 2 brothers, the 2 sisters were born in Heidelberg. The 2 brothers, the 2 sisters, Schlumt was born in Heidelberg, the youngest one. And then there was, after Schlumt, there was a sister. I only had 2 sisters, yeah. So he was, one sister was older. She was born in Heidelberg also. And the first brother, he was born in I think, in Budapest. No, they're all born in Heidelberg because they're born after they got married. They met in Heidelberg. See, my wife had an aunt in Heidelberg, and she had a pensionat for a room and board for Jewish people with kosher. And probably the people lived when they came to Heidelberg, they moved from Heidelberg to, because she had, her father's sister was living in Heidelberg, so they lived in Budapest, and they probably want to be together, the family. It wasn't, Europe is not so big to travel. They could probably by bus. They moved to Heidelberg, and they went to Malmo. She had an aunt in Malmo, and the aunt had a husband was a dentist, and she lived, and they still lived in Heidelberg. Yeah, they still lived. No, they already lived in Heidelberg when they said the youngest little boy, they found out, the Germans didn't know they're Jewish or anything. For some reason they found out, and they got scared. And the father was a Hungarian Jew, and the mother was German Jew, a Jewish German Jew. They were religious, and they were afraid, scared. The neighbors would find out. The owner didn't knew either from the house they rented, and they made a living from the property. They rented a house, got a small pensionat for Jewish students. You want to ask?
So how did she get to Sweden?
How did she?
What was she doing in Sweden?
Schlumt.
Yeah.
When they found out, this was in 1939, they wrote a letter to Hungary. The parents lived in Hungary. They lived in Hungary, not in Heidelberg. The parents found out about this. You see, the father was was a Hungarian, so Hungary was not occupied yet. So he could get a passport. He could move back and forth at that time. And probably even 1940, they could move any place they want. Even some Jews came to America, you see, or some, I don't know how. Anyway, she was the one boy who was he was 5 years old. One brother was 5 years old, and they got scared because they wanted to save the 4 children. The oldest one, who was still alive, you see, there were 2 brothers and 2 sisters. They're all dead except the oldest one, who's my age, exactly my age. And the oldest one, they want to send away the children from Germany. So, and she had an uncle in Sweden. The uncle sent a passport, 2 passports for the 2 girls. And they went to Sweden in 1939, or maybe 38. And that time they could travel. Especially if they have a passport which is not occupied. Hungary was not occupied. And then the oldest brother went to Hakshara in Sweden. Then Hakshara, and from Sweden, he went illegally during the war. He went to Russia for some reason, through Sweden, maybe through Finland, where I don't know how he got to Russia. Went to Russia, and from Russia he went to Turkey. And from Turkey he went illegally to Israel. It was not Israel, to Palestine.
Right.
No, they didn't call Palestine was Israel. It was Palestine till 1948, well, 47. Well, 47 Israel became a state. It was called Palestine. The whole territory, even where the Arabs lived, everything was Palestine. And the oldest brother, now the youngest brother, they got scared. So they sent the 2 girls to Sweden. They sent the little boy, they moved to Hungary back. They could move back to their country because the father was a Hungarian citizen. He had a Hungarian passport, so the Germans let him go. Okay. He got permission to go into Hungary. And in Hungary, they took the youngest brother to Hungary. And they found out, the reason they moved away, they found out that the neighbors know Jewish. They got scared. They want to get out of Germany completely. Yeah. So they got rid of 2 children. 2 children. 2 went to Sweden, the 2 girls, to the uncle, and one was the youngest boy. The oldest boy went illegally through Russia to Turkey, to Palestine, and the youngest one was they still lived they moved to Hungary with a little boy.
Right.
It took but then they want to save the little boy. They knew that the way Hungary had lots of Nazis, it was a Nazi country. So they were afraid. They want to save the 4 children. So at 12 midnight, they took the little boy. He didn't even know. They probably took him a time to teach him when he comes in, what he wants. So they went with a little boy, and one block before Wallenberg, and they gave him instruction what to do, to open. They rang the bell. They rang the bell. They saw a little boy. He had a Jude. He was wearing probably a Jude sign. I'm not sure. In Hungary, but they didn't have yet. They did before they occupied Hungary. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Wallenberg House took him in, okay. And he was liberated in Hungary, and after the war he went legally or illegally to Palestine. Okay. And in Palestine he already had had a brother.
Like the one who had come
Yeah,
to.
so he wasn't alone. And then Israel became a state, you see, and the parents didn't survive. They got killed in Hungary. From Hungary, the Germans occupied Hungary. They didn't care where he is from. They did away with all the people in Hungary. They sent them to Auschwitz. The Hungarian Jews or Hungarian Jews, they could tell because every Jew had to wear an armband on his hand and also on his a Jude written some sign that he's Jewish. He was no way to hide in Hungary. And one day they liquidated Hungary. They took all Jews, the young people, that they shot everybody. But there were some in concentration camp. They needed at that time people because more Germans got killed in Russia, and they got another front from the American side. And then they got the ally from France, you know. And so this is the way it was. So they found out after the war they united. All of them, yeah. The two from Sweden. And Sweden then. My wife didn't want to stay she went to school. She went to school, they went early to Sweden. She had her education in Swedish, and she was in Malmö. Malmö is like an international city. People travel by boat from Malmö to Denmark, back and forth. They travel from Norway to Denmark, and from Sweden, and here all her friends at school, some were Danish or Swedish or Danish, Swedish, and Denmark, Sweden. What is the next
Finland?
town? Near Sweden, Denmark. Sweden.
Finland? Finland?
How?
Finland? Norway?
No, not Finland.
Norway?
She did Norway. Yeah.
Whoever said Norway, that's two points.
They were, thank you. They went to the same school. Some parents, maybe they had better schools in Denmark, or they sent their children to Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah. And this was the closest place, was Malmö.
Okay.
So they sent them to she was got her education, and she learned the Danish, and she picked up, and Norwegian she picked up from her friends, from her girlfriends.
Okay.
So she spoke all those three languages perfect.
Okay.
And she still speaks it. In German, she knew, she grew up by a German mother. His father was Hungarian. But all Hungarians knew German. And to speak for some reason, it's close, not far. So she could speak those languages. Then she wanted to go, Israel became a state. The parents, the Swedish uncle sent Shlomet. There were two sisters in Sweden. My wife was the youngest one. They sent her to Israel. Israel let in everybody. Didn't need a passport. And then she went. So the youngest boy went back to, he was older, of course, at that time, send them to Israel. In Israel, he went to a kibbutz. All the newcomers, 50% of people who came to Israel went to a kibbutz because they didn't know the language. In a kibbutz, they teach the languages and everything. The Israelis, they don't have to have a passport in Israel. They could live there, and they were called all Israelis. Then the oldest brother was already living there in Israel. So, from Israel, they was very talented, and the kibbutz sent out talented people to the United States to different schools. He didn't pay for it, he didn't have any money in Israel. In kibbutz, you don't get money. All talented people they sent to foreign countries, wherever they could, not only just to Israel. And everybody got an Israeli passport. They could go to any country. And so he grew up. My wife grew up in a kibbutz. She was 7 years at Beirut, Yitzchak, a kibbutz not far from Tel Aviv. It was a religious kibbutz. It was 90% in this kibbutz was German Jews, and she did all kinds of work. Some people worked in factories in Israel, and they need people to take care of the children at night. They need women to work in the kitchen. She worked in the kitchen from the kibbutz. She was taking care of children, and she studied Hebrew. Fortunately, she found one Israeli in kibbutz, and he was willing to teach her Hebrew. And she knew the Hebrew better than some Israelis. And 5 years later, she quit the kibbutz. She went back to Sweden. And then from Sweden, she had still the Swedish passport. She was a citizen of Israel, and a Swedish passport she had. And she had a Swedish passport till she died here. She never gave up her passport. They all had Swedish passports. They got it after the war because they were, the two brothers had Swedish, they were Hungarian citizens. You see, they're born in Hungary. And so they're born in Hungary, they got Hungarians, after the war they could claim a German passport too, because it was German, the mother was German, the father was Hungarian. And so she came over to the United States, and she lived in New York for 1 year. And then 1 year she must have lived maybe longer in New York. She had a brother who was sent from the kibbutz to New York. And so she wanted to go to America.
So how did she get here?
She didn't come here. She was living in New York she only came here in 1995. She came over here to this country 5 years after.
But the second.
She 5 years after the war.
But you met her in San Francisco.
I met her in San Francisco at Thanksgiving dance, basket to dance, and I got to know her. I knew her 5 years till we got married.
Got it.
She went back to Sweden again, and then she liked me. She wants to marry me. And so, when we get married, I had a cousin in Israel, and I told her, she was my first cousin. She died maybe a few years ago, not long ago. She was here in this temple once. Yeah. She was liberated in Bergen-Belsen. She was, but she was married. She went to Israel from Bergen-Belsen from the beginning, and when Israel became a state, she already went.
And you told her about Shlomit?
And I told her everything about me. She told me everything about her, how she survived. And so you just asked me something.
You were starting to say that you told your cousin about your wife.
Yeah. I met her, I knew her for 5 years. 4 years. She went back to Sweden, and we decided, and then from Sweden, she was only a few years, a few months when she went back. She didn't care about Sweden. She wanted to live in the United States, because in the United States she had, not only she, like me, she had, here the youngest brother was an engineer at IBM. The IBM seeked out her brother from San
Luis Obispo?
Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, you heard how little about this. He went there to college, and IBM went into the college. They seeked out the most talented people. At that time he studied electronics. I don't know why, but they needed somebody who was talented. So they took other people too. They seeked people from all over. IBM is a big company. They were bigger and bigger all the time. It was the advent of IBM.
Question for you. It's getting a little bit late.
Yeah.
I know that other people had questions. Can they come to you to ask you the questions at home?
Yeah.
If people have questions, can they come to you at home or see you to come and ask you more questions? It's getting a little late for tonight, but I know that there are people who have questions. Can they come to your home to talk to you?
Yeah, anytime somebody wants to talk privately, come over. Anybody is welcome. They have to call me, make an appointment. I tell you, you can talk. I talk to Jay. I tell him all the time. I don't talk him much about. I talk him most of the time from Poland, how everything was different in the schools and everything. You see, I told him last time. I told him something. What we do. I told him about bar mitzvah and bar mitzvahs. I told him about what we davened, how we davened, and how everything was, you see.
Right. Okay, so people can come to you.
Yeah, everybody can find out anything.
Okay.
I'm here to say.
Great, thank you.
Please, you see, I'm sick. I tell you the reason I'm sick. I had a stroke. I cannot walk well. And also I have trouble with my toe. Maybe I'm getting stronger all the time. Even if I'm sick, I know what I'm talking. You know, I'm not just. Some people get a stroke and they die. Ariel Sharon is like that. You know, he's sick. He can talk to him. He doesn't recognize anybody. You see, Hashem has always helped me out all my life. I went through so much. I have so many things to tell in my life, you know. I just take from different parts, different small stories.
Thank you.
And more stories to tell. The life. I talked to Jay about life in Poland. Tell him about the synagogue how it was. We didn't. My mother didn't sit, nobody sat, even not religious, they didn't sit women and men together. You see, about twin bar mitzvah, you hardly see, nobody had a bar mitzvah in the shul. even the richest person. They make maybe a bar mitzvah, a dinner for the spirits say privately in the home, but not in the shul. I never saw bar mitzvah in the shul. I never done it in the main shul. I done it in a steeple.
Good.
We're in a steeple with all kinds of chassidim. But we had this, and we had the same nisat svartet. Only in the shul they had different sidurim. Everybody had to bring his siddur. Nobody, the rabbi didn't tell where everything is. Every boy in Gil knew exactly. He went to Heide. When somebody was 5 years old, he knew already Chemesh, Sefel Chemesh. It wasn't like here, you know. It was a different world. I'm living in 10 different worlds.
I think we're going to probably say good night for tonight. Yeah? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And here, everybody is welcome to call me.
Good.
Anything.
Thank you.